Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. I am your host today, and of course, we're going to be talking things all Manchester United. And tonight, I am joined by a new face on the channel, Wesley. How are you today, Wesley?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Amy. Excited to be a part of it. Really honoured to be on the show. So thanks for inviting me on.
No problem at all. And we've got a familiar face below us, our Scott. How are you today, Grant?
I'm very well, Amy, and want to say once again a warm welcome to Wes for joining us in the Man United team. It's great to have another great face on the show.
We will be joined by Reece as well, but as always, Reece is running late. It wouldn't be Reece if he wasn't running late, to be honest. So we're going to start off, obviously, the breaking news there in the last couple of minutes is that there has been an outbreak of COVID-19 in the United camp, and the game against Preston on Saturday has been cancelled. Now, to be honest, United have gained with the COVID situation quite well this whole time. I think this is the first time we've had any positive cases within the camp. Wes, what do you make of the news there this evening?
Yeah, I think the club have dealt with COVID pretty well since the start of obviously the situation. I think this is the first time that we've sort of had in-house. I did read quickly before we went live that the game's been pulled on a precautionary measure. Obviously, more news will come out about it probably as the hours go on. But if there is a risk there, I think the club have done the right thing, particularly with the Premier League season just around the corner. Obviously, it's one less game to play, one less game for the lads to test their levels and build fitness. But these things are going to happen, so it's probably the right decision if there was any risk there. Just hopefully everyone is okay and we can get to the start with no problems.
Yeah, I suppose my only worry is, to be honest, is the first team coming back to training now. We've seen Bruno's back there recently, and they're only going to get one game now before the first game of the season. So I think that's my only worry about it, really. Grant, what do you make of the news that broke there?
Yeah, it's very obviously concerning. I think it was Mark Ogden and Daniel Story from the Eye who broke it earlier on, which I had seen on Twitter at the time, just literally before coming on the show. It is concerning. It is happening to all clubs, not just in the English Premiership, but across the world. So I think, as Wes has very well alluded to earlier on, I think United have coped with the COVID outbreak, up until now, particularly well. I completely agree with you, Amy. I think it is a little bit concerning that some United players will only get a maximum of 2 games, even that, to get into the preparations for the new season ahead of that opening game against Leeds United in the middle of August. So it is a concern. And our friendly results so far have been okay without being spectacular. I think we've had a bit of a mix and match. Obviously the QPR game wasn't particularly great. The Brentford game was a very entertaining game. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that in a minute. But I just feel that minutes in the legs and a bit of confidence and a bit of a gelled camaraderie within the team and the camp is something that United may just be lacking going into the new season, the way things have shaped up in the last few moments that we've heard that news.
Yeah, definitely. There's been some of the lads there that have been on holiday as well for quite a while, so they probably haven't been training much either. So I think when they're coming back training, they're only going to have 1 or 2 games before they're back into the big season. And we've seen what happened last season as well, and we had absolutely no pre-season. They were all really tired and, they had no preparation whatsoever. So yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see now. It's a tiny bit worrying, but, at the end of the day, they're going to have that couple of games. They're going to have training sessions and all that. So hopefully they will be up to scratch. We'll move on. So United last night drew 2-2 with Brentford. We've seen some really, really bright sparks last night. I feel like Andres Pereira again is showing us his pre-season wonder, pre-season Paul's goals as we call him. He sells those dreams every pre-season. He scored an absolute banger of a goal last night. Elanga again with another one, and bright spark throughout this whole pre-season. He's been absolutely fantastic. Wes, what did you make of the game last night?
Yeah, I think it was a good game of football. Obviously, like I said, I don't really read too much into pre-season. It's all about getting minutes into the tank, preparing for the season ahead. It's more important for the likes of, Anthony Elanga, who, the kid's special. he's a fantastic player. He's got a very bright future ahead of him. In regards to his future, probably wouldn't be looking at loaning him out at the moment. I'd like to keep him integrated to the first team, keep him around the likes of Edinson Cavani, even Mason Greenwood's. Players like that, obviously, he'll improve. We can look after him and develop him in a manner that we want to. He's a fantastic player, and his goal last night was Andreas Pereira's goal was the pick of the bunch. But the build-up play to the goal, nice passing and moving, and then the finish, which was a very awkward finish. It was sort of on the volley. You've got top quality Premier League strikers who struggle to do that. So this kid's got it. He was impressive this pre-season. I hope we keep him involved in the first team. I hope we keep him at the club this season, because I think that he's going to have games. And the way he's been playing this pre-season, I think he's really put himself in the manager's thoughts, if you like. He's a very exciting player, and other players such as Meng, good minutes in the tank for him as well. It was a better performance from him against Brentford than it was against Queen's Park Rangers. And also, I want to give a special mention to Williams as well, because I think Brandon's looked sharp in pre-season. He seems to have bulked up a little bit as well. And I think, obviously, given the left-back situation at the club with injuries, obviously Alex Telles is going to be out probably for a few weeks. Luke Shaw is going to be coming back from injury as well. I think it's important that we keep Brandon involved, keep him fit. I just wanted to give a shout out to him as well. But in terms of the game yesterday, it was a fantastic game of football. They were playing Brentford's strongest team, and obviously, they did well. And these are young kids as well, so it's nice to be able to put a team out that can cope with a very good opposition, because Brentford are a good side.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it just goes to show as well how our youngsters are developing as well. Like, I thought Mengi was solid yesterday, and obviously you touched on Elanga there. I think Elanga has done so much work over the summer, and you can see that he's bulked himself as well. He's fantastic, and he's definitely a bright prospect for the future. Grant, what did you make of the game last night?
Well, I caught up with the highlights of the game. I didn't actually watch the game live. I was keeping up to date with how Celtic were getting on in Europe, but we won't talk about that because they lost to the Champions League last night. But I did catch up with the highlights today, and I actually was quite impressed with some of the performances. I know sometimes people look into the scorelines in these friendly games and read a bit too much into it, but Wes made some great points on Elanga, and I agree with Victoria's Secret's message there. He'll provide good cover for Rashford if he's out for a prolonged period with injury. I think he'll be an interesting idea to use in the games. He's actually had some really good form in this pre-season, but also in the under-21s as well. He scored for Sweden in both their matches against Finland and Luxembourg. And okay, that is maybe a different dynamic to look into, but the fact that he's scoring goals, he's playing well, he looks like he's involved in the games, it's certainly making a difference in the quality of his play is something to behold. And Pereira, what a goal last night. I know it's a friendly game, but it's still an absolute screamer of a goal. I quite liked the dynamic of the team last night. I actually thought Jesse Lingard offered something in the game. Be interested to see if he has a part to play at Manchester United this season. Will he potentially go back out and loan? We'll probably talk about that later on. Because I still think that Lingard has moments in a Manchester United shirt where he can offer something. I know that there is a particular panelist here that is maybe not the biggest of fans of Lingard, but I actually think there is something about Lingard at times. I think Twanzebe, is there still something there with him? There could be something to behold there. But I think, Wes made a good point on Williams. I think he is still learning. He is still developing. He will provide a very capable backup to Luke Shaw, who obviously had a very good European Championships. So I think there was a lot of positives for United. Obviously, winning the game would have been great, but let's not forget, Brentford were putting out probably their likely first team heading into the new season. And I like the look of their team. I actually think Brentford could be very exciting in the Premier League this season. So I think when you look at it and you strip everything back, it's another 90 minutes in the legs. You get to see the breadth of the squad and, crucially, the depth of the squad as well. And that's where I felt United really struggled last season. They didn't have enough depth. They didn't have enough quality to take the fight to Manchester City in the title race. And I'd like to see a lot more of that this season from United. So all things considered, and there's still a bit to go, by the way, it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. Reece, welcome to the show, late as always. Fashionably late. What did you make
I
of
was
the game?
elsewhere. I was elsewhere, so apologies for being a bit late.
Just thinking the Rangers are drawing Malmo again.
I'm not even gonna go there because I could easily wind up a few people in here, and I'm not gonna. No, I thought it was a good game yesterday, to be honest. Back and forth, end to end, proper workout. Gave us a good test in terms of attacking us as well. Forced the players to defend, unless you're Dallo. To be honest, he wasn't particularly impressive to watch yesterday. The attacking young players as well were good to watch. All in all, I thought it was just the right game at the right time that we needed, so it's probably the best thing. And some French players were impressive to watch yesterday as well. Like everyone's going to say the obvious, like Lingard and all that, but
I just did.
obviously, for me, I still look at that game and I thought the likes of Menge, Tuanzebe, thought Williams at times was okay. He was all right. Garner, when he came on, was superb to watch. Elanga, typical as well. He's been brilliant. I'm not even going to get into Pereira. I'm just going to blank him. I'm just refusing to speak on him. I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to talk about him because scored a great goal. That's it.
Can I just say before you go any further, Reece? I mean, Mengi and Elanga are both 19 years of age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
massive potential. And obviously, our own managers three there. Mengi was so good. I thought this is a guy who's only 19. And Tuanzebe, how old is he? 20?
23.
23? Still getting towards the prime of their career. There's a lot of potential there. Sorry, just thought I'd add that in.
Yeah, you're roundabout right.
That's okay. Like as we've seen, like over pre-season, we've bags of potential underage, and it's clear to see now. I'm just hoping that, like, I think for the likes of Garner and them, I think they need maybe another season loan to kind of develop a little bit more. I don't think he's quite ready yet, but I think maybe another season on loan, he could be absolutely brilliant, to be honest, and he could fit right in. In terms of the news that broke earlier on in the week, we have agreed terms with Raphael Varane, and obviously this is a position that we've been shouting for a long time. Obviously we've been dealing with the centre back pairing of Maguire and Lindelof. Now they're not the worst in the world, obviously, but Maguire definitely needed someone that was a bit stronger, a bit more pace beside him. Reece, what did you make of the announcement of United Green terms of Varane?
I just love the fact that all the rival fans were getting all tits up and whinging about it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. He goes from being one of the top 5 centre backs in world football to being overrated within 5 seconds. That just sums up for me just how good it was. So, in all fairness, it's a great signing for us. It gives us strength, gives us quality and depth that we lack in a certain position, and rival fans are crying about it. So, 2 birds with 1 stone. Now we just need a defensive midfielder. But it's a great signing for me. Perfect signing. Yeah,
definitely. And if you look at the experience Varane has had, like, he has literally won everything. World Cup, Champions Leagues, La Ligas, like he's literally won everything. He's so experienced, and it's definitely something that we needed. I know he's 28 years old as well, which means he's hitting his prime now. So especially for the young lads coming up like Mengi and all that, they can definitely learn off him 100%.
And he's also never lost a final. He's also never lost a competitive final. Yeah. 14 out of 14.
Yeah. Wes, what do you make of the announcement of Varane?
Firstly, in what world, in what universe can you sign a world-class, centre-back who's won, 19 major trophies at Real Madrid for £34 million when other clubs are signing Ben White for £50 million? It's just honestly, it just doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, people can play it down all they want. That signing is going to be bigger for us than Jadon Sancho. Raphael Varane is it's a statement signing. It is basically a signing, and obviously, it says we mean business this season. The Glazers can spend as much money as they want. I won't change my stance on them. Neither will the majority of other people. But we've got to remember that there's still a football team, United was around, way before them. So by Raphael Varane coming into this team, I think that we'll see an even better Harry Maguire now. I'm one of Harry Maguire's biggest fans. If you see a debate on Twitter, I'm there, backing him because he's a world-class centre. Well, we got 2 world-class centre-halves now. I can't wait to see Raphael Varane at Manchester United. I think it's probably going to be the signing of the summer for me personally. I can't wait to see him play. And as you said, he's grown up as a fan, as they all are, but he's been quite vocal. His thoughts towards Rio Ferdinand. He's obviously got a lot of respect and admiration for the likes of Rio, and hopefully half as good as Rio at United. Because if he is, we'll definitely be winning something this season. But I think the rest of the team are going to be very confident in this signing as well. I think it's going to lift the dressing room, and also I think that opposition sides now they're going to be worried because, with all due respect to Lindelof, he's a nice guy. I've met him personally. He's a good player, but as we saw in the Europa League final, I was there, and it was if we'd had Maguire, there instead of Lindelof, the result would have been different. But I'm not going to hammer Lindelof too much. Unfortunately, he's probably not quite to the level that we'd expect at Man United. But with Raphael Varane coming in, that back four, that is some back four. Absolutely, I'm excited to see Raphael coming in. I'm so pleased that we've signed him. It's a fantastic signing.
Yeah, and we can obviously see as well that we've brought in a new defensive coach as well, which means all the goals that we've been conceding from set pieces and stupid errors at the back could actually all be cleared up now as well. Like, obviously they can focus on set pieces more because we were conceding a lot from set pieces last year, and it was definitely something that we needed to work on. It was good that Ollie could pinpoint this out and pinpoint what we needed. So he went out and said, I need centre back, I need a new defensive coach, and he went out and did that, so he knows exactly where he needs to improve the squad. Grant, what you make the news of Varane?
Victoria's Secrets is once again on the button. I can't think of a better back four than Sean Maguire, Varane and Wan-Bissaka. I think that 4 as a unit will be really good, I think, for United this season. I mean, you've got Shaw, as I said, had a really good European Championships for England. Maguire obviously came back in after not starting the tournament and obviously come in, and I thought he was, he's just slotted into that team like he'd been there since the start. He was outstanding. I think Varane, I agree with what Wes said. It has that Vidic Ferdinand vibes about it. When Manchester United were really going strong, and this goes for all the championships that Manchester United have won. You need a strong back four, but particularly a strong centre back partnership. And Vidic and Ferdinand were to me the best centre back partnership at Manchester United back in the day. But I think Varane, leader, Maguire, leader, the two of them will help each other. But Varane's got quality as well. He's very confident on the ball. He can drive out from defence. Maguire can do that as well. He's got a habit of scoring goals, set pieces. But we've all forgotten one thing here. We've talked a bit about his connections in Spain and what he's won, but he's also a World Cup winner with France. Internationally, he will absolutely help Pogba. And in my opinion now, I think that will cement Pogba staying at Manchester United. That French connection. It'll strive Pogba to improve his own game individually and drive United forward, in my opinion. I'm beyond convinced now that I think Pogba will stay. A lot of Manchester United fans want Pogba to go still, which I find quite extraordinary, to be honest. I think Paul Pogba, on his day, is a world-class player and a match winner. And I think the fact that you have connections in your team that not only play for the club but also play for the same nation as you internationally, that will make a massive difference. So I think Varane comes not only with individual quality that will help United, but a team quality as well that will help others further up the pitch and alongside at the back to improve as well. We've looked at Wan-Bissaka. There's been a lot of talk on social media outlets that Wan-Bissaka is still a very weak defender, but let's not forget, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is still very young. He needs a little bit of confidence. He still maybe needs to sharpen up on the defensive side of his game a little bit, but he's still got quality. He can still offer a lot going forward. He's still very young. He's still developing. Luke Shaw wasn't exactly... He was a rough diamond when he came to Manchester United, and now he's starting to... we're starting to see the fruits of his labour coming over the last 12 months or so, including a very good summer. So I think we are building. I still think that we need that defensive midfielder, as Reece mentioned earlier on, whether that is Ndidi, whether that is Declan Rice, whether it is an equivalent. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm quietly excited by how United are beginning to shape up. That might dispel after the Leeds game, though, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. Like after, because obviously this is probably the best transfer window that we've had in quite a few years, to be honest, and it's looking a lot more like we're going somewhere. And Ollie sees a track, and he's trying to build towards it. Now, obviously, it's taken longer than we thought, but I said before he brought in the new coach that Ollie obviously isn't an experienced coach, but he's going to need to have experience around him for him to learn off them as well. So hopefully, bringing in the new coach and that he can learn a bit more off him as well, and because we've seen that he does have experience too. So obviously, if we can bring in that defensive midfielder. Now, I know he said recently there that he wants to use McTominay in a more of attacking role, which means he'll want to probably rotate Matic and Fred. We kind of know Fred is a bit of a liability, but at least now we can kind of cut out the errors at the back, and Varane can kind of cover a little bit. So, well, we hope that'll happen anyway. But yeah, I think definitely signing a solid centre back kind of. Well, to be honest, okay, we definitely do need a defensive midfielder, but I might cut out the errors a little bit more. I know Fred has a lot of errors. Like, he's good at intercepting, but he loses the ball straight after, and his passing isn't great either. So at least we have Varane that's actually strong coming out the back, and he can pass the ball forward, which is great.
I think, with the defensive midfielder, I mean, I like McTominay. I'm always going to be a big batter for Scott McTominay. I still think that he's a very decent player. I still think that there is more to come from McTominay, but I do agree we probably need somebody who's going to be the person to beat in that defensive midfield position. McTominay is far from the finished article, I accept that, but I still think that if he... What's that, sorry?
He's young as well, he can definitely build more.
Exactly. And this is the thing with United, there's a lot of players there that aren't the finished article. McTominay, for me, has actually got some good attributes. He's certainly got some good attributes when he plays internationally for Scotland as well. And I think his own performances at the Euros, I thought, were very good on the whole as well. So I think United, if they don't get the defensive midfielder, it is not disastrous, but it could be the difference between us winning the title or not. That's where I see us at the moment. Yeah,
definitely. Look, there was definitely 3 positions that we need filling, and we have 2 of them filled now. So it's just that defensive midfield role that we need filled, and we need to, even if going with what he has, he needs to sort something out. If his plan isn't to sign defensive midfielder, he needs to sort out what he wants to do with that now. It's probably going to be a rotation of Fred and Matic. Like we seen Matic last night, and Matic was actually quite good when we had a lot of the ball. He's really good at passing forward and everything like that, but it's just a case of when the opposition has a lot of the ball, he's just not quick enough. So I think Matic is in those games where we plan to have a lot of possession. So I think Ollie has to decide what he wants to work on and what he wants to decide in that defensive midfield role. We'll move on. So obviously news broke today about Kieran Trippier, and family members have said that he's interested in a move to Manchester United. Now I think, to be honest, it is a good signing, especially for Wan-Bissaka. I think it could be massive for Wan-Bissaka because we've seen Wan-Bissaka come in great one-on-one defensively, but going forward he is lacking a little bit now. We have seen that he has improved a bit going forward. It's just that final third that he needs to work on, his crossing and all that. I think Reece just disappeared. Wes,
camera.
Oh, that's fine.
It keeps flashing. I don't know why. It's a fucking shit camera.
I can still hear you though.
Yeah, that won't change. My camera's like Arsenal. It stays at the top for a while and then it disappears quickly.
Reece, what did you make of the news of Trippier today?
I think it's an interesting signing. I think you're spot on in terms of he offers experience, he offers a challenge in terms of attacking and defensive threat. We can play in different positions against certain teams where we'll be forced to break down. We can use them in a variety of ways. I think it definitely gives you a great deal of confidence in terms of forcing Wan-Bissaka to improve on his weaknesses. So it would realistically be a good signing. We're not going to have him for like we're not going to have him for like 4 or 5 years. We're going to have him for like maybe 2 or 3 max. But those 2 or 3 years could still be a great deal of benefit if they pan out. So if it works, then great. And I'm hoping that it does, but we'll just need to wait and see.
Yeah, I think if Trippier comes in, I think Ollie will probably rotate himself to Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka will play against teams who plan on having a lot of the ball, so like City's, Liverpool's, all them. And I think then Trippier would probably play more games where we plan on having a lot more of the ball.
Yeah.
I'd say that's what could happen. Wes, what did you make of the Trippier news today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Kieran Trippier. I think he's a fantastic player. I think that the price tag is a little bit much at the moment. I don't think we'll end up paying £30 million for him personally. I think we'll try and bring that down a little bit. I think it may hinge on moving the likes of Dalot out to on loan, or if we manage to offload him permanently. But I think it would be a very positive signing because he is a good fullback, and I think with mentorship, Aaron Wan-Bissaka could probably learn a lot from him because Bissaka's a lot younger than Trippier, and Trippier's been around for a long time. He's proven the Premier League, he's proven at international level as well. He's good going forward. So I think between the two, it could kind of have an Alex Telles effect, if you like. The effect that obviously that's had on Luke Shaw has been positive. So the signing of Kieran Trippier may work in our favour as well. But as I said, the price tag's a little bit high. I don't think we'll end up paying that much. But I'm all for signing Kieran Trippier. I think it'll be a very good signing for Manchester United. But I don't think it's something that'll happen quickly. I think it'll probably drag on to sort of the end of the transfer window because I think we'll try and bring that price down. And if the player obviously wants to move, his family, to return back to England, I think that it's not a matter of if but when. But yeah, I think it would be a very positive signing for the squad. As you said, we've been crying out for squad depth for a very long time. So yeah, that's my view on it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. I literally only said this the other day. That I think Kieran Trippier could be a transfer deadline day job. To be honest, I think they're going to try drag this one out. Grant, what did you make of the Trippier news?
Yeah, I think Trippier would be a valuable addition into that. What's that?
I'm sick of this shit.
Anyway, the business at hand. Actually, I think Trippier is a good signing. I think he'll give Wan-Bissaka that competition on the right-hand side of the defence. Again, Trippier, very strong European Championships when he played a big part, obviously, in the goal in the final, didn't he? When he played that great cross-in for Shaw to score. What I like about Trippier is the fact that he was brave enough to go to Spain to develop his game. When he was at Tottenham, he could have stayed there 4, 5, 6 seasons and been a fairly solid player. And that's how I would have rated him, a fairly solid player. But credit to him, he went over to Spain. He's just been part of the La Liga winning team with Atletico Madrid under Simeone. Again, Simeone, I think, sees the good points in Trippier. They played a lot of games. I think he's an ambitious player. I think it'll be good competition with Wan-Bissaka. I agree with that analogy you said, Amy, earlier on, where you think that Wan-Bissaka will play in a lot of games where maybe other teams will have a lot of the ball. I think Trippier will have that quality from a dead ball as well. I think he's got good delivery. We've seen it in the past, obviously in the World Cup with England, and some of his other forays and other lights. But I think Trippier would be a good astute signing. Don't know if it would actually maybe change the formation United play. He might play more of a wing back rather than a full back in its own right. That might be an interesting dynamic. But I think Trippier offers a really interesting dynamic.
You know what I do think though? He's not going to come in. He's not going to come in straight away to play right back. He's going to come in. He's got to play left back.
Well, Victoria's Secrets actually must have been reading my mind because I wonder if they were slightly fixing device.
You could realistically see that. Like you could see Shaw and Telles playing as wing backs. You could see Trippier, Wan-Bissaka. You could also see Wan-Bissaka playing in a mid, like a centre back 3. There is that option.
And of course, Gareth Southgate liked to play wing backs at the Euros, and that's where Shaw, I felt, was he's most dangerous for England in that full back position. And thought he was one of England's most consistent players at the Euros.
Yeah.
And as a Scotsman saying that, you know,
it's painful. It's painful.
It's quite painful for me to say that, because I was like, you know, as a Scot, I don't really want to say England win against us, but he's still very good, you know. And you know, I think with what Solskjaer needs to do, if he is signing Trippier, he needs to actually have a system in mind of where best he feels that these players will fit into the system. If they go to 5, I think you will as well, Reece, I agree. But if they do decide to go with the 5, where does that leave the midfield dynamic? Is it going to be a 3 and a 2? Or is it going to be 2 and a wide 3? And that might be a little, that maybe will be a wee bit exposed in the centre. That might be my concern.
I think it'd be sort of similar to England's system that they played when they played a back 3 in certain games. Like the back 3 they played against Germany, for example, where they played Rice.
Rice and Phillips.
They played Rice and Phillips together as a 2 and just broke midfield that way. But they lack creativity, so they would expect it from the wing backs. That might be us, but I don't know. We'll see what he does. But I think it's more likely to be 2 wide, which I do see, and I think it'd be more like that than anything else, and just 2 powerhouses in midfield to handle it. I don't see it any other way.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting dynamic. Sorry, Wes.
Go on.
No, go on. You're jumping in.
No, I think we'll definitely go with width, obviously, because we've got the likes of Jadon Sancho coming in now, purely, you know, down the right hand side. Obviously, that is an issue that, you know, we've finally addressed. And Manchester United, we've always played with width, and it's the way we play. Obviously, you know, I don't see that changing. But yeah, it will be interesting. But I think that, you know, if we do sign Trippier, it will be a back 4. And I do think that we'll probably, I would like to see us, you know, trial not playing with the 2 holding midfield players, particularly at home games, because, you know, let's be honest, it's not the way we should be approaching games at home with 2 holding. See what happens with the Pogba situation now. We touched on Scott McTominay and Fred as well. Personally, I'd like to see if we don't end up signing a defensive midfielder this summer, which, to be honest with you, I'm not too sure we will. It's not the end of the world this summer. My preference would be McTominay, purely because I think he's a better footballer than Fred.
Agree.
You know, he passes the ball forward a lot more. He has got goals in his locker as well. But I do hope that we do look at a 4-4-3 in a sort of refined way. Personally, there's 2 holding midfielders for me. I'm not.
I don't mind if we still play the 4-2-3-1, just as long as if you're playing there, you actually have 1 defensive midfielder and you have like a box-to-box player that actually knows what they're doing. So you have two players for the role. I don't mind a 4-2-3-1. I don't mind a 4-3-3. I just don't want it to be 2 defensive midfielders. Like, you could have 1 defensive midfielder and still play the same system as long as you've got a box-to-box player that knows what they're doing. I'd be fine. I'd be fine with that. I
think what we're seeing here, folks, is that if the does come, we're going to have quite a few options on how the team will set up. And last season, I think last season it took us going a goal down in quite a number of games for United to actually get into gear. And very rarely last season did United actually start out on the front foot and steamroller teams. And we won the games from coming from behind, but you're not going to get away with that week in, week out. You know, this season we can't afford to be too often we go behind in games. We're going to have to get back to the ruthlessness that United have been, you know, kind of blueprinted on for many years since I've followed them. Get off to a good start, get an early goal, and then go for the throat, score 2, 3, 4. Because that is what you want to see in a championship-winning team. I mean, okay, you need to win nils as well, and that's obviously important, but you have to show your class as well. You know, Manchester City showed you why they were champions last season in the big games. Yes, they got the 1-0s, but they were clinical when they needed to be. And United, too often last season, lost stupid points, particularly against the sides in the bottom half. And that's something that I think, with Trippier coming in, and just this blend of ideas, 2 players for each position, as I always like to give that football manager analogy, I do feel that United are heading in the right direction. But if we could get that defensive midfielder, that could be the game changer. But I agree with Wes. I'm not convinced we'll get one before the transfer.
I think the fact is we've got Leeds' first game of the season is the perfect thing as well. I think Leeds are going to do us a bigger favour than people think. I think Leeds are going to stretch the top 6. They're not going to go unbeaten like they did last year, like at Elland Road. They're not going to do that this year. But what they will do is they will proper test you. So the fact that they've got us first game instead of like a Norwich or a Brighton, that wouldn't have been a game you'd want first game of the season. You want a team that will proper test you. So the fact that we've got Leeds is going to force us to show what we can really do. Otherwise,
Leeds will be dangerous this season. No doubt about it. Leeds will be dangerous.
Definitely.
Last season.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy opening game for United. No chance.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about it as well. It's a proper test, and that's how a season should start. You want tested. What's bigger than a Marcel Bielsa Leeds United team, other than say Klopp's Liverpool or Guardiola's City? Tuchel's Chelsea. Now that's not really a test because it's no disrespect to Chelsea, but it's the sense of like, would you play that first game of the season? It would be boring. And
it's a different style of a test. Chelsea. It's a different style of a test. I can see where you're going with this. It's a different style of test. In the same way that, say, Nuno's Tottenham will be a different test again.
Absolutely.
They have different styles of play. And, we mentioned Brentford earlier on. They're going to play, I think, a style very similar to, I think, what Leeds are doing last season. That could be to their detriment in time because they could get picked apart, particularly away from home. And you could see them on the end of a few pastons. But what I think is going to be interesting is that, you mentioned there about Brighton. Clubs like Newcastle as well, they're going to sit in and try and counter. And particularly Palace would be, first game of the season last year, we lost 3-1, I think it was against Palace on the opening day last season. It was, yeah. That was the worst opening game we could have asked for because Palace had a game plan. We couldn't break them down and they caught us. That was Donny van de Beek's only goal, I think, for a while that season as well.
It was, yeah.
Ironic, really, when you think about it.
They always seem to beat us as well. Like Crystal Palace is actually quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like past couple of seasons we have lost against them at Old Trafford. Like that has to end. We need to beat Liverpool this year. We've not beaten Liverpool in the league in 4 years. That's got to change this season.
Particularly,
we need to beat the freaking.
We need to beat United need to beat the sort of top, the big rest of the so-called Big Six, and I'd include Leicester in the Big Seven, right? The so-called Big Six. If you include Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal are part of the Big Six, by the way, but that's another argument. I think
Leicester are Big Six, Spurs aren't.
Well, okay. We'll agree to disagree with that one. I think United have to be winning these big games at home. I mean, too many games last season. Ollie was spooked after the 6-1 loss against Spurs. And I think he was spooked personally and set United up to not lose the game rather than go to win it. I mean, how many times did we see them draw 0-0? Chelsea, Man City. I think was it a 0-0 with Arsenal? They lost to Arsenal at home 1-0, didn't they? So games like that, that's the games that United need to be turning into victories if we're going to be challenging for the title. The big games at home, especially.
The Liverpool game in January as well, when they had Fabinho and Henderson as centre back, and we didn't even attack them once. Like that's where we have to do something.
Was that the game we had to make 3 substitutes after 45 minutes?
Yep.
Yeah,
thought it was. We would have if we had actually attacked them, we would have ended that like we would have done so much more. Like we would have stayed probably top of the league, mate. Obviously, we went on to Sheffield United and all that after that as well. We're not even going to go there because that just makes me sick. But there are games where I agree, where we have to. You expect to beat your rivals, but there are some games in the bottom half of the table where you should be winning. You're not going to win every single one of those games, but even if you get a point off them by forcing them into mistakes, we have got to turn it around, and I want that away form transferred to the home form as well.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
It's like Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, "Win your home games. Win your home games, and you got a chance.
Make that falter.
Don't lose at home."
We've got to turn that around.
Yeah, absolutely. It was concerning last season, but hopefully now with the new signings and with the new appointees and the coaching staff, we can work on the things that didn't work so well last season, such as set pieces, etc. And we'll see where we're at. As you said, Leeds will be a good test for us. We'll be able to see where we're at against very good opposition. and it's not going to be a game where either side is afraid to lose. I think it'll be an open game. Both sides will go for it, and it'll probably suit us, to be fair.
Yeah, I look at how I mentioned there about home and away form. Is I look at polar opposites. Like when Mourinho's problem was away form as well as getting his style to actually work, but but at home, he only lost he very rarely lost. He went a year unbeaten at home. Man City, following year, Man City. But he won everywhere else that he got. Like, the away form did not work. You look at Solskjaer, away form's always been a little bit sceptical. Away form, fantastic. You just need to get that balance.
Last point on United, the home form. United was 6th on the away form, the home form last season, 31 points at home. Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, West Ham and City all had better home records than United last season. Away from home, only City had a better away record than United.
We need to transfer. We need to transfer, or even get marginally closer, because we picked up 31 points from home, and losing positions as well. Like, we're one of the best teams from losing positions, where we actually kicked our arse into gear. And
that's what I'm saying. United can't afford to go 1-0 down too often in games this season, because by the law of averages, you just cannot get away with it. Week in, week out. You just can't get away with that.
You got to do that, and that's where
you've got to be clinical. You've got to be ruthless.
Yeah. Even if we're second half FC game, which frankly really does annoy me, but obviously a game is in 2 halves. The game obviously ends in the second half, but if we are to get what we usually do in the second half done in the first half, we can at least afford to rest players as well. If we've got another game coming up, we can make changes quickly if we need to. But ideally, you want the balance next year. I hope we get a better home form. And
absolutely.
Hopefully it leads to something great, but we'll see. It's football. Football works in mysterious ways, like Arsenal. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of issues last season that people are going to really be watching out for this season, like set pieces, our home form, which was absolutely awful. But especially as well, we were really struggling to break down teams that used to sit back as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of areas that people are going to be watching and seeing if Ollie is improving this season, see if he's learning from his mistakes. But we'll move on anyway, and we'll move on to, obviously we touched on a while ago on Anthony Elanga. Obviously Marcus Rashford, we don't really know what the story is yet, if he's going for surgery or not. Do you think you could be used on that left wing while Rashford is recovering from his surgery, Reece?
I'll be honest, I don't see why not. Like, he's shown in these preseason games like why he wants to be here. Like, I was on a show with Keane a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about youth players and what they've done to build themselves. And one thing that stands out for me is Elanga chose to go to Macclesfield to build his physical presence. And you've seen it now, like the images where they're showing like he's bulked up, but he's still maintained the fact he still maintained his pace. He hasn't bulked up too much that he's going to be ineffective with movement. And the way he's played the past couple of games, he's made a few little mistakes here and there, which is for a young player expected. But what he has delivered as well is movement and goals. The fact that he's been consistent as well says all for me. As a young player who's willing to learn, develop, he has shown he's capable. I don't know if you would want him to be first or second choice, but in terms of using him in the squad, I've got no issue with that. Like, especially he's got his pace. He would be particularly good against Leeds in a way, even if it was like for 15, 20 minutes. I think he would cause them problems, cutting in and getting a goal or even finding a pass. But I think if you're going to look at more, I think because of Rashford, I think it's going to be more of Martial or maybe Dan James, maybe Sancho sometimes in the left wing. I don't know. But in all respect to Elanga, fantastic pre-season. I would not say no. But there are players ahead of him at the moment. But he's worked well to get into this squad, though, so I hope to see more of that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think he's such a massive prospect, to be honest, because like the whole way through pre-season, last game of the season, he was so good, and like he's always looking for the ball. He's looking really bright. He's very quick on his feet. He's always putting pressure on the opponent as well, which is great to see. But as you said, look, Martial and Dan James are both there as well. So I think it'd be absolutely fantastic for him to be part of the squad and kind of get a feel of the Premier League as well, and not just like pre-season, last game of the season. Wes, what do you think?
Yeah, as I said, he's a special player. I'd like to keep him in and around the club and the first team. I think it's important for his development. Obviously, as I said, we can nurture him and develop him in a manner that we want to. In terms of being a number 2 to Rashford at this stage, I'm not going to say I don't think he's ready, but I think that obviously there are other players in front of him at this stage. Obviously, we're forgetting, the Diallo as well, who's another player who's going to be pushing for a place. As I said, I'd like to keep him around involved, because obviously there are a lot of competitions next season. Obviously, we've got the FA, the League Cup as well. And obviously, these young lads will probably get game time in those competitions, and will be able to utilise the squad more. It's a bit now, though, because obviously, as I said, we'll be replacing players with quality now, not depth for the sake of it, replacing with players who potentially are good enough to be, for Manchester United. So, we could be playing in the Capital One Cup or the Carabao Cup, whatever it's called now, and we'll be fielding a very, very dangerous team, which could feature the likes of, Anthony, Shola Shoretire, Amad Diallo, Hannibal Medjbri. We've got great young players who could probably have first-team football. More first-team football probably would have thought they were going to get this season. So the benefit of staying, they probably will get game time. Maybe not as much in the Premier League. Maybe not as much in Europe either. But certainly in the FA Cup and, in the Carabao Cup. And to be honest with you, if I was a young player and I had the opportunity to play for Manchester United in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, I'd most certainly prefer that to be playing against, Exeter City on a wet Wednesday night when it's, hammering down with rain in the league. Because, I think these boys are a bit too good for that at the moment, but they're not quite there for the Premier League. But they will get there. So we need to, keep them around. Ollie is clear with his development of the youth. He clearly believes in these players. We've seen a difference in quality with the youngsters coming through since Ollie's been, in Manchester United. I've got full confidence we'll see the best of these players, and I'm certain they'll definitely have a future. But yeah, maybe not just yet for Elanga, but that he wouldn't be considering loaning them out anytime soon.
Yeah, I do agree. I think he'd be great to just have there on the bench so that he can get that bit more experience as well, especially while Rashford is going to be out for quite a while. I think as well, there was something in my head there, but it was gone. It'll come back to me again. Grant, what do you think? Do you think Elanga could maybe fit in for Rashford next season or at the beginning of the season? Or
Yeah, I think we should definitely keep him around the squad, but I think there has to be a little bit of cautiousness, I think, a little bit about Elanga. We've seen players like him sort of threaten to break through, haven't we, in the past, like Januzaj, Keita, people like that. And my worry is that we are building Elanga up too early, too soon. I think he's got a lot of potential, do not get me wrong, but we just need to let the guy enjoy his football. Absolute number one. Just enjoy his football. I'm looking at Reece's face there. I just thought it was funny when I mentioned Januzaj there.
We thought Januzaj was going to be the next Ronaldo. So
it's the fact that you went from Januzaj to Makeda as if he deliberately knew how to punish me, and it's just not comfortable. If you'd said Bevy straight after that, I would have run. I would have left the studio.
As mentioned there, and I think that's exactly as well. But I just think that as United fans, we get really excited when there's a lot of young talent coming through, and I think what we need to do is just take a small step back, nurture them, make sure that they're enjoying their football, like Mason Greenwood when he broke into the team, because Mason Greenwood has got it, and I think we need to utilise Elanga in the same way that it seems to have flourished for Mason Greenwood, and I think Solskjaer is actually the perfect man to help Elanga in his own development, because he was that sort of player when he broke into that Manchester United team all those years ago. And I think if Elanga gets the odd 20 minutes off the bench in a game this season at a Palace or a Norwich or a Newcastle, when United are maybe 2 or 3-0 up, then that's absolutely fine. I'd be very much happy about that. I agree with what Wes said, though. I think United need to be winning a trophy this season. And the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, I think United have to be pushing to win these trophies. I mean, Manchester United haven't won the FA Cup for goodness knows how long. I mean, I remember the game was against Crystal Palace. That's too long.
5 years. 5 years without the FA Cup, 4 years without the Carabao Cup.
That's too long.
4 years without a European trophy, and it's 8 years this year without a Premier League title, and we're now going 13 years without the Champions League.
Just too long. And United as a club, Manchester United as an institution, should be competing on not just the Premier League or the Champions League front, but in the cups as well. I mean, Manchester City have bossed the Carabao Cup. That needs to stop right now because they have dominated that every single season.
Don't worry, we're beating them in the final.
Well, that was we need to be getting to them again because United, for me, I've always known, you guys have all known, and everybody who's listening or watching to this has all known. Manchester United equals titles and silverware when they are on form. And, as a club, Manchester United have always been at the business end. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Manchester United should not be scraping about trying to just compete in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup.
We're not Arsenal. We're not
second-string team. Well, this is it.
I want us to.
We're in danger of being like that if we're not careful. Yeah. I mean, Arsenal have won more FA Cups in the last 10 years than we have, I think, if my maths is correct. Exactly. And they've won silverware. And in my opinion, a trophy equals success. I this is just my opinion. The top four, is an interesting argument. You don't get a prize for finishing third, apart from a monetary, helping.
Didn't get a prize finishing second.
Getting a trophy above finishing third, I would take every day of the week, to be honest with you. And Manchester United have to be getting back into the winners' enclosure this season. And I'm kind of delving off topic here when we're talking about Elanga, but if he offers something different that will help United get that silverware in the Carabao Cup or whatever competition United are in, then that, for me, could be all the difference.
I look at the players around them, though, that they've kept to actually potentially give them a little bit of confidence. Like, they retained Matic for a few extra years. I'm going to say one name, and I guarantee I'm going to get a smile in 2 seconds, although please don't. Juan Mata. Retained him. Valuable experience. We'll see what happens there. But you're not going to use them in the Premier League. Matic, yes, but Mata maybe not. But you're going to use them in these cup games where he can work with these younger players, give them a little bit of maturity, a little bit of tutelage to improve. And that actually gives them a chance to actually, hold on, I'm playing with a little bit of experience. I can see where I can go in terms of where I need to improve.
Exactly.
And we take it from there. So I absolutely agree with you 100%. Like, we do need to win trophies, but we shouldn't force it on a young player to go, all right, we're giving you all the responsibility. You've got to win a trophy.
No, I wasn't saying that, but
I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not. It'll be on the senior players. Like, you guys have got to deliver a trophy, but it'll give these young lads a great deal of confidence, and we'll see. I agree. We do need to win something and take it from there, because we cannot go another trophyless year, because it's just going to get to the point of the questions will be, okay, so who is going to actually deliver a trophy? And that's not a question I actually want to ask right now. And the other inevitable question you'll get asked is, when is Manchester United going to win a trophy again? And that's not something I want to ask either, because what I want to say is we're winning all fucking 4 next year. Bang.
Yeah. Well, we should have won one.
That's what you want, but you never know. So I'm hoping something happens and it gives these young lads some confidence. So I completely agree with you.
I think last season as well, right? We had no pre-season. United are playing 2 or 3 games a week. I think last season was just jam-packed with games overall. So I think this coming season we might see something different, and I feel like we're going to see a different Manchester United, especially with the 2 new players coming in and whoever else we're going to be bringing in, because I genuinely don't think United are done with signings yet. But look, it's hard to know, but I genuinely do think we are going to see a different Man United. Games are going to be a bit more spread out. Obviously, we do have all the cup games that maybe 2 games a week max, but there was a stage where United were playing 3 games a week, and it just wasn't ideal. But I do think we're going to see something different in this coming season.
And we are playing on average like 60 plus games a season as well. Like, we always we're consistently getting into the far stages of competitions now as well, where we are being worked. I'm just going to add something to this comment here, if you don't mind. This one here, if it shows, come on. Behave. I've got the access to it. You know what's worse about this? We can also get AC Milan because they're in pot 4. So we could literally have some of our Europa League opponents in our Champions League group, by the way. So that's painful memories. But yeah,
I haven't looked at all the Champions League group stage could be, because I think Rangers could potentially end up in Man United's group potentially. That would be good for you, Reece.
Go to hell. Milan or Rangers, I can't because I've got the Italian side to me as well. I physically can't do it. But I'll say this: at least Rangers are going to get to the Champions League. I'm not going to say anything about the other side of Glasgow because I'm not going to go there.
Hashtag group of Reece should be trending if that happens.
hashtag Reece is fucked. Hashtag
Reece,
kill the Champions League.
Reece, it's interesting what you referenced there about the seasons. It's actually, we played back-to-back 61-game seasons.
Yeah,
61 games, more than most clubs, you know.
Absolutely.
And we did that basically, you know, last season with no pre-season. We started the season late as well, a week later than everyone else. Less preparation, COVID, you know. It was, let's be honest, it was a bit of a disaster of a start, wasn't it? So, like Amy said, I think we'll see a different Manchester United at the beginning of this season. Given obviously the players that are coming in as well, I think that'll be a very have a positive impact in itself. But you know, we've got a very strong squad now. You know, if you look at it, we've arguably probably got the strongest side in the Premier League in depth. And obviously, as you said, we may even bring in Trippier as well. We may even bring in a defensive fielder too. You know, so that 61 games, if we go 61 again, we're probably going to see better results going through because we'll be able to utilize our squad more with quality and not just, you know, any old so-and-so that's on the bench. So we'll see anyway.
And we'll see more of the squad as well. We'll see more of the squad being used as well, because I think there is a little... There's people that... And I can see why they say the comments that there's some players who aren't trusted. Like, the bench isn't trusted enough, so he sticks to like his favourites or his trusted players. I think you're going to see a little bit different to that this year, because there's some players that came in, didn't have like as you said, we didn't have a pre-season, and he went with his tried and trusted that he knew of, like the likes of Van de Beek and Telles. At times weren't used for months on end, or it'd be like weeks on end because of they just didn't deliver. I think the only one that's going to be a bit difficult with is maybe Telles because he's got an injury.
Yes.
So he's going to miss a bit. So he's not even going to have a pre-season. He didn't even get to go play for Brazil. So he's not had any level of like match fitness other than like the first 2 games, and after that he's been injured. So we'll see what happens with him. But like Van de Beek, we have to see more from him. We'll see what happens. But there are some players who will realistically get more of an opportunity because we are going to play all these games.
They're going to have to play, of course.
They're going to have to play, and hopefully they convince and hopefully they deliver. But we'll find out, because it's football. Not everything's guaranteed, but we'll see what happens. And hopefully Ollie's more aggressive with substitutions as well, where he is right at them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
That's what I know. Hopefully we'll see what happens this year.
I think we'll see a difference with Donny as well. I do, you know, you don't become a bad player overnight. Donny van de Beek's a fantastic player. Technically, you know, he's come through arguably the best academy in the world with Ajax. They are the top of academy football. They got specific. It's the Johan Cruyff way, you know, and that's the beautiful game, the beautiful football, you know, the beautiful style, 4-4-3 attacking. You know, we saw what his capabilities at Ajax. He's come to Man United. Obviously, I believe that there is a plan there with him. I think the media have blown it out a little bit out of in terms of, you know, his happiness or whatnot. I don't really pay much attention to that. But Donny van de Beek, I think he'll have a good season. I think we'll see the best of him. Definitely. If
he can just keep things simple, I think he'd be fine instead of overdoing. Some players try to do too much and then they just fall flat. Keep it simple and shouldn't be a problem. And then if he wants to do a little bit extra after he's grew into a game, then great. But if not, then don't bother.
We'll move on to the next episode obviously we have a lot of youngsters there that are showing great talent at the minute, but they could probably use a little bit more development, which will mean probably going out on loan. Reece, what players do you think would benefit a lot going out on loan?
I think 100% Brandon Williams. I think Jimmy Garner needs a season in the Premier League. In my opinion, he needs to adapt to the Premier League. So I think it's smart to send him out. I think Ethan Galbraith personally needs a loan. He needs an opportunity. I would maybe go a step further and say maybe Hugo from the academy team. I think he could send him on loan to maybe a championship club, let him get a bit of experience, because I think he's going to end up being. I think he's going to get stepped up to the team quicker than most, the way he's played. Mengi, Twansebe, and I still think maybe I'm going to say either Elanga or Shortire maybe, because I see one of them is going to be a standout in the first team. Whichever one of them goes out on loan, if they do go on loan, one of them is going to be in the first team more than anybody else. I would have to say out of that lot, personally, for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I feel like maybe as well for the younger ones, the championship would be great for them as well, because it's a lot more physical league and they'll definitely benefit a lot from it. And Wes, what do you think?
So I've wrote mine down. So I think obviously Axel. I think Axel will be one of the players that I won't say he needs a loan, because kind of Axel Twansebe, but there's a lot of competition in that area, and Axel's too good to be sitting on the bench at Manchester United. So Axel, James Garner, fantastic season at Nottingham Forest. As you saw on the Twitter, there was a lot of Nottingham Forest fans who were rated very highly. You probably found that standard of football a little bit too easy last season. I'd like to see him get loaned out to probably a lower side in the Premier League. I think that he can test up in that league now. I do think he's good enough. Pellistri as well. Obviously, looks like he's going to go back to Alaves. He's had a good pre-season. Looked very, very, very good in pre-season. Very sharp, particularly against Derby. Had a very good game. I think that it was. He played very well. I think that going back to Alaves is a smart move. He had a good season there last season. They do rate him, and I think that he's comfortable in there, so we won't block the boat too much with him. And they've obviously improved him as well. You can see that in obviously him coming back, having played senior men's football too. It's had a positive impact on him. Dylan Levitt, I think another player who should get a move probably to the Championship. I think that he's a Welsh international now. He's had minutes at senior football in the Welsh national team. So I think he's a fantastic player, technically very good. His vision's good. He's a very good passer of the ball, loves to drive forward as well. I think that a move into the Championship on loan would do him very good. A side I'd probably like him to go to, maybe the likes of Swansea City, Bournemouth, possession-based football teams who pass the ball around very well. I think that would be, potentially two teams that would be very for the likes of Dylan Levitt. Shola Shiratiri, fantastic player. As I said earlier, I wouldn't consider Elanga at the moment, but I probably would consider Shola going out on loan, probably to Championship League One, purely because I think he needs to do a bit of bulking up first. Shola is only a little lad, technically very good, but I think we need to be very patient with Shola. He's got all the potential in the world. He's a player that I would not consider selling at all, loan only at the moment. Ethan Galbraith, another fantastic player, needs a loan without a doubt. As I said, I think into the Championship. He's a good player. Lots of good clubs that he fit right into in the Championship. And Mengi as well. I think he's done very well for us in pre-season. QPR probably a bit of an off day, but didn't they all? The game against Brentford, he was very commanding, looked very mature, stepped out with the ball well, was commanding. He did look like a top quality, a young defender in the game against Brentford. He coped quite well with their centre forward Tony. So I was quite impressed.
There's one other actually I was thinking of. There's one I was thinking of. Obviously, Levitt's a good example, but I was thinking maybe Bishop as well, or Kovar, one of the under 23 goalkeepers. I think I think one of them needs.
Was
I
it
think one of them
Swindon
needs a
last season, wasn't he? Kovar was
Yeah.
at Swindon, wasn't
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one loan move for me that makes absolutely no sense. Will Fish going all the way down to the National League,
he?
like a good young lad like him playing down there, I think I would have sent him to League Two
Yeah.
or play for like Salford or something like the
Oh,
Deschamps
sure.
Bernard links,
Yeah, of course.
or up here like Reece Devine playing for St Johnstone. I'm fine with that. At least he'll develop as a left back. But Will
Absolutely.
Fish going all the way down to the National League, with all due respect, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like I wouldn't send them there. Like use the links in the club. Like I would have used Derby, Nottingham Forest if you want
Yeah, of
Championship
course.
level. Send them
Yeah.
to maybe NK Dons. They've got a good knack with Ethan Laird.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
Salford. Like there's
Without
good
a
links,
doubt.
but the National League, like the Stockport City,
Yeah.
makes no sense.
It's
I got a strange one that.
Yeah, I think another thing with all of these young players, they're too good for the 23s. I mean, it's the standard of the under 23s is
not competitive enough.
With all due respect, yeah, it's not competitive enough. You know, we've seen it with the likes of Tahith Chong, who's in 23s looked like an absolute beater, playing in the senior men's football. He's not being great. I don't think he's been at the level that. But
there are a couple of players like that at the minute, like Vince Garner as well is too good for the threes, but not good enough yet for senior. So there's a couple of players kind of there in the middle that I think probably need more Premier League games, so probably needs to go on loan to Premier League clubs to develop that bit more.
I think Brighton would be such a perfect place for him, beside Basuma or whoever unless they sell Basuma. I think he'd be a perfect option to go there. They play the sort of attacking football that we want to play. They don't have a striker, but at least he'll feed them through. Or to be fair, if he plays in a different system, maybe if obviously Norwich have brought in Gilmore, but it wouldn't surprise me if they tried as well, or even a Brentford. Like either club makes sense, but I don't want him back in the Championship. I want him in the Premier League.
Yeah, of course. You just said Garner. I think for him this season, it's important that he gets a move into the Premier League, because I do think that the lad is good enough. But I think he's too good for the Championship. It's Forest, with all due respect, he's more of.
He's ahead of them, yeah.
Yeah. Grant, what do you think? Who out of the young ones do you think should go out and loan?
Well, I think the guys have really kind of forensically examined them quite a lot. I mean, one of the guys that, for me, has to get a loan move this season and really rubber stamp himself is Ethan Galbraith. I mean, Reece has mentioned him a lot, and I think Galbraith's an exceptional player. I've only really seen Galbraith very closely at the Northern Ireland under-21 international level, but there's rumours he will be making a move up into the senior squad under Ian Barraclough, and I think he's a very big talent. I think he's got real potential. I agree with what Wes said about Levitt. Kovar was at Swindon last season. I can see him going back out on loan. The Fish one is interesting. I didn't know he was in the National League. That's a bit of a strange one. I think he would have
joined Stockport, mate. Stockport.
I think he would have done very well to Compton Scottish football team. Aberdeen, to be honest with you. I think he would have been a very useful centre-back for Aberdeen, personally, alongside Declan Gallagher at Scotland Internationalist. Garner, for me, is huge. I think this is a big season for Garner. Where do we feel he's going? I mean, I think a club like maybe a Preston might suit his style. I don't know.
It's a shame we're not playing him this evening. I think that's I'm not putting a dig in there. I'm just saying it like purely. I'm just gutted we're not playing them, but obviously there was a COVID outbreak. It's an interesting one. I don't know if it's the right club for him, but it would make sense. I look at clubs in the Championship though, and I think who would he improve? And Wes has mentioned a few already. He's mentioned Forest. He's mentioned Bournemouth. I mean, clubs like Swansea City, Sheffield Wednesday.
At Preston, you've got people like Scott Sinclair, who I watched obviously in the Celtic preview friendly game weeks ago. I thought Preston looked okay. Don't think they look a great team, but I think he might offer something a bit different. Garner, I think this is where Garner needs to try and get him. Well, I think it was one of those goals. Garner needs to get himself a bit further up the ladder, because he's one of these guys that for me hasn't consistently given himself the chance to break into that United team. He's flirted with it, but never really been looking like knuckling down at 5 or 6 games in the trot in that team. Sumi makes a really interesting point about Palestri. He's been very good in the pre-season. I would keep him, actually. I would have him in the the Carabao and FA Cups. I think he could be a wild card to choose. Are we going to see Diallo go out on loan? That's another one I would be looking at. I know he played a little bit last season and he showed signs of what he could do, but realistically, is he going to get the game time? I'm not fully convinced, but I think Showtire's the interesting one. I personally would keep him and Elanga, but you can't keep everybody. So
judging by his Olympic performances, like Diallo's going to be wanted on loan. Like a lot of clubs are going to go in for him. I don't know if United will want to send him out on loan. I genuinely think he gives us such a good balance, like cutting in his left foot, and he's shown as well that he's set piece as well. Like an extra option if we're playing like Carabao Cup games where we don't play an experienced player. He's shown the ability to force them away. Yeah. So I've got no issue with that. I actually sort of agree with the Palestra comment, like in terms of like, should we play him in FA Cup and League Cup? If we don't send him out on loan, he would be probably who I would start on the left wing, maybe the right wing. I don't know, depending if Diallo stays. He gives you something. His movement as well inside the box. Like, he links up well with Shorter. We've seen that the other day. Like his link up play in the box, like he gets on the balls really well. So I don't have a problem with that. I would have him, but I think sending him on loan probably is better for him because it looks like the way he's played the past couple of games, he wants to stay. In the comments, he said as well after he got his goal as well a week ago when he said, in terms of going out on loan, he was asked, he's like, I just want to stay and fight for my place. I respect that, but in all respect to him, I think it's a bit too soon for him to say he's getting in the first team. But he's a very good player.
Here's an interesting question. Dan James, what should we do with him?
Loan him for 2 years and hopefully there's a buyout clause.
I think I would
loan him out for me. Loan him out for me. I would loan him to Leeds or Leicester City, to be honest. At least he'll fit into their teams, but I don't think he's good enough for United yet. I don't think he is.
I think I would put him into a side that's going to be competing with the Championship, like a Cardiff or a Swansea.
Send him to Cardiff and you'll get bloodshed.
Well, Swansea probably more likely.
Dan James is more of a purpose player, isn't he? He's better against opposition. To be fair to James,
he was actually very good at the Euros for Wales. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit. A good Euros.
He's better against opposition that doesn't sit deep.
Correct.
That attacks you. In games against Man City, he's done his job. He's done okay. But against the low block in the side, that's going to sit back, pack across 2 banks of 5. It's not great. I put
he just doesn't know what to do. He just doesn't know what to do when he's put under pressure. Like he runs, but the second he's closed down, he just doesn't know what to do. So
just chooses it wrong too often.
He runs at defences, then he just stops, and I'm like, it's not something I have confidence in a winger. If he I would like him to go and if he goes to Leeds, I think he would improve that sort of aspect of his game. Even if it's like a year or two at Leeds, and then came back and forced his way in, I'd be fine with that. But at the moment, he's not for us.
I put the feelers out there a few weeks back, and obviously, I think a lot would benefit him. I'm not against allowing Dan James to leave the club either. But Leeds were heavily interested in him. I said, why don't we test the waters in a deal for Calvin Phillips? I do like Calvin Phillips. I think if we're in the market for a defensive midfielder, he has played on his own in front of the defence for Leeds. So, although for England he's played alongside Rice, but he has played on his own for Leeds. Leeds did do okay last season. Can't hate him as more than anything. They were Liverpool for. I can't stand the club, but Calvin Phillips. I know he's a Leeds boy. He's born in Leeds, and obviously he leads through and through. But I always say that Alan Smith made before we signed him. He said, "I'll never ever sign for Manchester United." What happened? He signed for Manchester United.
Here's a wild one.
He's on 20 grand a week.
Here's a wild one. I don't think it would happen, but coming from the same club, Stuart Dallas. Would you take him? That pen going down that was a big shocker that I put down there.
I hoped you were going to say like Rafinha, would I be like, yes, please? But no, you said Dallas. I don't think he's particularly. I don't think Dallas is that good a player. With all due respect, I think he's perfect for Leeds for that, for that level, and that's no disrespect to them. Obviously, I'm the same as Wes in terms of Liverpool and Leeds hate the shit out of them. But the thing is, though, is Leeds aren't that level of team that they were like from like the 70s when they were dominating football as well with us. They're not that team anymore. The 90s Leeds, they're not like that anymore. So
I was thinking of the reason I said Dallas. I'm thinking of versatility, and I think Dallas.
No, I get that. I get that, and I agree in terms of that. Just for me, I don't think he's the. I don't think he's the right one. No, not for me personally. And the pen drop's just shock.
Yeah.
Which Rafinha then?
Of Rafinha, I'd bring in a heartbeat.
No chance.
I think they're the two I think that I would look at these. But obviously, the reason I mentioned Calvin Phillips previously is because obviously looking at his contract with Leeds, it's probably doable. His wage, he's 20,000 a week. Manchester United could quadruple that if they wanted to without even thinking about it, and they could offer him long term as well.
An eyelash, they could be the same.
You could get him if you paid. I think probably if you've included Dan James in the price and paid 35 million, you'd probably get him. And if you offered him extortionate money, you'd probably try and force the move himself anyway, because for a player like Calvin Phillips, who did have a very good Euros, he was very, very good for us in the Euros. But I think that, he's definitely a player that we should consider if we are looking around in the market for a defensive midfielder. Obviously, there's other names that you could look at, but in terms of realism and a deal being, possible, I think he'd probably be one of the more realistic names that we could go for. But again, he plays in the Premier League. He's proven. He's played for England now. For me, it would be worth exploring. But yeah, just in terms of Dan James, if I was going to do something with him, I would try and include him in a deal to get a defensive mid this summer.
Even if we put him in the deal, just say we're just going to loan you. We're not going to sell you, or we're not going to do a straight trade. We're going to loan you on for 2 years, and we'll still take your player, but still offer money. I think that'd be an okay situation. I wouldn't have a problem with that. It just depends on what you do with him. For me, Amy knows this, Grant knows this. I don't rate him. I don't rate him within even with like an inch. I just don't rate him. I don't think he's good enough. But I've always said though, like if he goes out and improves his game, works on his weaknesses, and comes back and he's even better and proves me wrong, I will accept that. Like I'm always open to being proven wrong, but I've always been consistent with the fact I don't rate him. I just don't rate him. And am I likely to change my mind? Probably not.
Right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. So we've actually been going nearly an hour and 20 minutes, which has been the fastest hour and 20 minutes ever.
To think I joined an hour ago, so blame me.
Reece, do you want to shout out where our viewers can find you?
Let's see, where can you find me? You can find me in Space Mountain. You can find me in Hell, or as many people call it, Scotland. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on. You can find me at the Weekly Armchair Sports Talk, where I am the host of the London Lowdown. You can find me on the Dugout Football channel as well, where I host the World of Football podcast on a Monday, which is back on Monday night, 7 o'clock. That's going to be a buzz. You can also find me on Twitter. It's below R7UN1T3D. And Twitch if you're interested in gaming, although I've not streamed in a little while, but I will be back. It's Reece_Lightning1997, and thank you for having me on.
No problem. Wes, where can our viewers find you?
So I can be found obviously on Twitter, United Wesley, WHF there. Drop me a follow. I do follow back, try and follow everyone back, because I think we do, try and maintain that connection of Reds. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, United Captured, currently the 5th biggest platform on Instagram for United. So please, if you come over and follow us, we've got great content on there daily. So they're the 2 ways you can find me. As I said, Amy, thank you very much for having me on today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope the viewers have enjoyed listening, and I look forward to coming back on.
Excellent, no problem at all. Thanks a million for coming on. Grant, where can our viewers find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Stato_Grant, for all your weekly business, or daily business, I should say, of statistics, Man United chat, Aberdeen chat, Northern Irish football chat, just a range of stuff, really. A lot of rubbish as well. You can also find me on Instagram at StatOG91. Good crack there. And glory, Man United. And big shout out to all our followers, whether they're listening on the audio or on the virtual tonight. And once again, welcome again to Wes, and hope you enjoyed your first outing on the show, and hopefully we'll see much more of you.
As always, you can follow me over on It's U18. Thanks for everyone for interacting with the channel. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you click the sub button as well, and stay tuned for more shows.